The human fleet moved forward in perfect formation. Their ships were scratched, burned, and tired, but their spirit was strong. They had fought many wars across the stars, and today was no different. They trusted the Galactic Alliance beside them. Humans believed this battle would be remembered as a great victory shared by many species. At the front line, human ships took the first. Enemy fire crashed into their shields like a storm. Explosions lit up space, bright and violent. Human pilots stayed calm. They followed orders. They protected the larger Alliance ships behind them. This was the plan. Humans always stood in front. They always paid the highest price. The enemy was powerful. Massive alien warships pushed forward with cruel force. The humans fought back with skill and discipline. Missiles flew. Laser fire cut through the darkness. Human commanders watched their screens closely, trusting their allies to cover their sides. Then something strange happened. Alliance ships began to slow down. At first, the human commanders thought it was a technical problem. Maybe damaged engines. Maybe a delayed order. But seconds passed, and the silence grew heavier. Alliance ships did not advance. They did not fire. They simply pulled back. Human sensors confirmed the truth. The Alliance fleets were retreating. A cold feeling spread across every human bridge. Calls were sent. Signals were repeated. There was no answer. The Alliance ships increased distance, moving safely away from the battlefield, leaving humans exposed. That was the moment humans understood. This was not fear. This was not an accident. This was betrayal. Enemy ships quickly noticed the change. Like predators sensing weakness, they turned their full power toward the human fleet. Fire rained from every direction. Human shields broke one by one. Ships were hit. Some were lost in silent explosions. Still, the humans did not run. Human captains gave calm orders. Damaged ships moved to protect smaller ones. Pilots fought even harder, even as hope faded. They knew the Alliance had chosen to sacrifice them. Humans were meant to die here, so others could survive. Inside the Alliance command ships, leaders watched the battle from a safe distance. Their faces showed no emotion. To them, humanity was useful, but replaceable. If humans fell today, the galaxy would move on. But they did not understand one thing. Humans did not accept extinction quietly. On one heavily damaged flagship, a human captain stood before his crew. Smoke filled the bridge. Lights flickered. Yet his voice was steady. "They think this is our end," he said. "They think we were just a shield." The crew listened in silence. They were wrong. Across the human fleet, similar words were spoken. Fear turned into anger. Anger turned into focus. Humans stopped fighting like allies. They began fighting like survivors. Secret systems activated. Old protocols came online. Messages were sent using codes no other species could read. Deep inside human ships, something long prepared began to wake. The enemy pushed closer, confident of victory. Alliance fleets watched, expecting to see humanity erased from history. But instead of screams, there was control. Instead of panic, there was silence. The human fleet held its ground. One Alliance officer finally spoke in a low voice, watching the battle feed. "Why, aren't the humans retreating?" No one answered. Far away, in the burning chaos of space, a human captain looked at the stars ahead. His ship was damaged. His people were surrounded. But his eyes were calm. "They wanted us gone," he whispered. "Now they will learn what that choice means." And as enemy fire closed in, the first phase of humanity's response quietly began. The galaxy waited for the human fleet to collapse. Alliance commanders watched their screens from a safe distance. Enemy leaders moved their ships closer, ready to finish the fight. To everyone watching, the result seemed clear. Surrounded. Outnumbered. Betrayed. Humanity should have fallen within minutes. But the human fleet did not break. Inside the damaged ships, alarms screamed and lights flickered. Hulls were torn open. Power levels dropped fast. Any other species would have panicked. Any other fleet would have tried to escape. Humans did neither. Human captains ordered their ships closer together. Wounded vessels were placed in the center. Stronger ships moved outward, forming a tight wall of steel and fire. It was not a retreat formation. It was a survival formation. Enemy forces attacked with confidence. Heavy weapons fired again and again. They expected fear. They expected chaos. They found resistance. Human pilots flew with sharp focus. They did not waste shots. Every missile had a target. Every strike had purpose. Even damaged ships kept firing until their last system failed. When weapons went dark, some ships moved to block enemy fire with their own hulls. This confused the enemy. The humans should have been desperate. Instead, they were calm. Deep inside the human flagship, a restricted command chamber came online for the first time in years. Old screens lit up. Ancient symbols appeared. This was not Alliance technology. This was pure human design, built in secret after centuries of distrust. A quiet order spread across the fleet. Activate Black Memory Protocol. One by one, hidden systems unlocked. Weapons the Alliance had never seen powered up. Human ships stopped fighting like defenders. Their movements changed. Faster. Smarter. Deadlier. Enemy ships began to fall. Not slowly. Not by chance. But with precision. Alliance officers leaned forward in shock. They saw enemy cruisers losing engines. Command ships destroyed in seconds. Entire attack lines collapsing. This is not possible, one Alliance general whispered. But it was happening. The humans were still outnumbered, but the battle had shifted. The enemy no longer pushed forward. They hesitated. Some ships even tried to pull back. The human fleet did not let them. Small human strike ships broke formation and attacked weak points. Coordinated fire tore through enemy shields. The battlefield filled with burning wreckage. Space, once loud with weapons fire, grew strangely quiet. Then something even more unexpected occurred. A human transmission spread across all channels. It was not loud. It was not angry. It was calm. This is humanity, the message said. We were betrayed. We survived. Now we adapt. The Alliance tried to block the signal. They failed. Every species heard it. Every fleet received it. Across the galaxy, worlds stopped to listen. Human losses were heavy. Many ships were gone. Many lives were lost. But the humans did not slow down. Pain became fuel. Betrayal became strength. On the battlefield, an enemy commander finally understood the truth. Humans were not weak because they trusted others. They were dangerous because they learned. Alliance leaders began to panic. This battle was not ending the way they planned. Humans were not dying. Humans were evolving. Behind the chaos, far from the battlefield, something else moved. In deep space, silent and unseen, long-hidden human fleets received a single coded message. No words. No explanation. Only a signal. The kind that meant one thing. War had changed. Back on the battlefield, a human captain watched an enemy ship explode and allowed himself one slow breath. They thought we were finished, he said quietly. Around him, his crew kept fighting. But this, he added, is only the beginning. And as the enemy line finally broke, the galaxy unknowingly took its first step toward a future ruled by fear and respect for humanity. The battle no longer looked the same. Where chaos once ruled, there was now order, human order. Enemy ships drifted broken across space, silent and burning. The surviving enemy forces pulled back, confused and afraid. They had expected an easy victory. Instead, they had met something they did not understand. Across the galaxy, observers watched in disbelief. Alliance commanders stared at their screens, unable to speak. The humans were still fighting, still standing, even after being abandoned. More than that, they were winning. This was not predicted, one Alliance strategist said softly. Nothing about this was predicted. The human fleet moved with sharp precision. Ships shifted positions smoothly, like pieces on a board. Every movement had purpose. Every strike landed where it hurt the most. Enemy command vessels were targeted first. Supply ships vanished next. The enemy's control fell apart in minutes. Then the impossible happened. New signals appeared on Alliance scanners. Dozens. Then hundreds. They came from deep space, from areas marked empty for centuries. Human ships. Not damaged. Not tired. Not desperate. Fresh fleets emerged from hyperspace in perfect silence. Their hulls were dark, their weapons charged, their formations flawless. These were not defense fleets. These were response fleets, built for one reason only. Revenge. Alliance officers froze. No one had known humanity possessed such power. No treaties mentioned it. No intelligence reports hinted at it. Humans had hidden their strength, waiting for the moment trust failed. That moment had arrived. The enemy forces saw them too. Panic spread through their ranks. Retreat orders were sent too late. Human fleets closed in from all directions, cutting off escape routes with terrifying speed. The battle ended quickly after that. Enemy ships surrendered or were disabled. Some tried to flee. None succeeded. The field fell silent, broken only by drifting wreckage and distant fires. But the humans did not celebrate. Their ships turned. Not toward safety. Not toward home. They turned toward the Alliance. Alliance leaders realized the truth too late. Humans had not activated hidden fleets to survive. They had activated them to remember. A transmission request arrived at Alliance command. Human coded. Priority level absolute. The Alliance hesitated, then accepted. The screen filled with the image of a human admiral. His uniform was simple. His face showed no anger. That made it worse. "You left us," he said calmly. "You decided humanity was acceptable loss." Alliance representatives tried to speak. The admiral raised a hand. Silence returned. "We do not seek destruction," he continued. "We seek balance." The transmission ended. No threats. No demands. That silence spread faster than any weapon. Across the galaxy, news traveled quickly. Systems that once mocked humanity now watched in fear. Species that called humans reckless now studied them carefully. Traders paused routes. Military councils held emergency meetings. One question echoed everywhere. What happens when humans stop trusting? Alliance fleets scrambled to defensive positions. Borders closed. Weapons powered up. But fear grew stronger than preparation. Humans had already proven one thing. They did not need permission. Near the battlefield, human ships gathered their wounded. Fallen vessels were recorded. Names were saved. No sacrifice was forgotten. This was not rage-driven chaos. This was controlled resolve. A young human officer looked out at the stars and spoke quietly. "They will remember this day." His captain nodded. So will we. Far away, Alliance leaders stared at the dark void where human fleets now moved freely. No attacks came. No messages followed. That was the worst part. Because the galaxy understood something new. Humanity was not asking for respect anymore. Humanity had taken it. And as human fleets disappeared into the darkness, every watching species felt the same cold truth settle in their minds. The galaxy was no longer safe to betray. The human fleets did not rush. That alone frightened the Alliance. Human ships moved slowly through Alliance space, calm and controlled. They did not attack cities. They did not destroy worlds. Instead, they went for something far more important: control. One by one, Alliance border stations went dark. Communication hubs stopped responding. Defense platforms powered down without a fight. Navigation beacons failed, leaving fleets blind and isolated. Every shutdown was clean. Precise. Almost polite. Alliance commanders sent frantic messages across empty channels. No response came from the humans. Only silence followed, heavy and crushing. Inside the Alliance capital, leaders gathered in panic. They had weapons. They had fleets. But none of it felt enough anymore. The humans were not acting like enemies driven by anger. They were acting like judges. Alliance scouts finally spotted the main human fleet near a key system. Hundreds of ships hovered in perfect formation. Weapons were ready, yet untouched. A communication request arrived. This time, the Alliance answered instantly. The human admiral appeared again on screen. His expression had not changed. "You have one chance to speak," he said. Alliance leaders rushed to explain. They spoke of strategy. Of fear. Of hard choices. Of sacrifice made for the greater good. They said betrayal was necessary. They said humanity would understand. The admiral listened without interrupting. When they finished, he waited a moment. Then he spoke. "You planned our deaths," he said. "You watched us burn. You called it strategy." Silence followed. "You do not deserve destruction," he continued. "You deserve memory." With that, the call ended. Across Alliance space, human fleets acted. Financial networks were locked. Military command systems were overridden. High-ranking Alliance officers found themselves powerless, their fleets unable to move without human approval. No shots were fired. No screams echoed. Yet the Alliance fell to its knees. Every system taken was recorded. Every action was measured. Humans left markers behind, clear signs of control. The message was simple. This space is ours now. Alliance citizens watched in confusion and fear. Humans did not harm civilians. They did not take resources. They only removed authority. Governments collapsed without bloodshed. Power shifted quietly. Other species took note. If humans had chosen destruction, the galaxy would have burned. Instead, they chose domination through restraint. That restraint was more terrifying than any weapon. A lone Alliance general stood before an empty command room, staring at dark screens. "We underestimated them," he whispered. "Yes," replied a human voice behind him. He turned to see a human officer, calm and unarmed. "You thought mercy meant weakness," the officer said. "You were wrong." News spread rapidly. Species across the galaxy changed policies overnight. Treaties were rewritten. Human ambassadors were suddenly welcomed with respect and fear in equal measure. Human fleets remained in Alliance space for days. Then, just as suddenly as they arrived, they stopped. No further systems fell. No more power was taken. The humans had proven their point. On the human flagship, the admiral addressed his fleet. "We will not rule them," he said. "We will remind them." Orders were sent. Fleets began to withdraw, leaving behind a shattered Alliance structure that would never fully recover. As the last human ships turned away, Alliance leaders watched in silence. Their empire still stood, but it was broken. Trust was gone. Power was lost. One Alliance official finally asked the question everyone feared. What if they return? No one answered. Because deep down, they all knew the truth. Humans would not need to return. The galaxy would remember this lesson forever. And from that day forward, betrayal was no longer a strategy. It was a death sentence, without a single shot fired. The human fleet stopped at the edge of Alliance space. They did not chase. They did not threaten. They did not speak. That silence spread faster than any warning signal. Across the galaxy, governments waited. Military leaders held their breath. Traders paused their ships mid-route. Everyone expected the final move. Everyone feared it would come without mercy. Inside the Alliance capital, leaders stared at the stars through wide windows. Human ships surrounded their system, distant but clear. Weapons were powered, yet none fired. Time passed slowly. Every second felt heavier than the last. Finally, a single transmission reached every channel. Every species received it. Every world heard it. The message was human. A human admiral appeared on screens across the galaxy. He stood still, hands behind his back. His voice was calm, firm, and steady. We were betrayed, he said. Not by accident. Not by fear. But by choice. No one interrupted. No one dared. You believed humanity was useful only when standing in front of your guns. You believed we would die quietly so others could live safely. He paused. You were wrong. The admiral looked directly into the camera. We do not seek revenge. We do not seek to rule the galaxy. We seek something far more important. He waited again, letting the silence grow. Truth. Across space, leaders leaned forward. From this moment on, the admiral continued, humanity will remember who stood with us, and who did not. He raised a small device. Symbols appeared behind him, glowing bright. Names. Dates. Records of the betrayal. Clear. Undeniable. These records will never be erased, he said. They will be taught. They will be shared. And they will follow you. Some Alliance leaders tried to speak. The channel did not open. Humans will defend themselves, the admiral said. We will help those who treat us as equals. And we will never again stand in front for those who would sacrifice us. The screen went black. No threats followed. No countdown began. No attack came. That was the moment the galaxy truly understood. Human fleets slowly powered down their weapons. One by one, they turned away from the Alliance capital. Hyperspace drives charged in complete silence. Then, without ceremony, the human fleets vanished. They left behind no wreckage. No burned worlds. No conquered systems. Only memory. Alliance space remained intact, but it felt empty. Power was gone. Confidence was shattered. Leaders who once laughed at human warnings now avoided mirrors. Across the galaxy, reactions came fast. Some species publicly apologized. Some rushed to form fair treaties. Some quietly prepared defenses, afraid of a future where trust could not be repaired. Human worlds returned to calm. Ships repaired. Names of the fallen were honored. No celebrations were held. Humans did not see this as victory. They saw it as a lesson paid in blood. On one distant human colony, a young child watched the stars and asked a simple question. Will they hurt us again? An older human answered softly. Not if they remember. And they would remember. Because from that day forward, the galaxy moved differently around humanity. Deals were honest. Alliances were careful. Betrayal became unthinkable. Not because humans threatened destruction, but because everyone had seen what happened when trust was broken. The galaxy had gone silent, not from fear alone, but from understanding. Humanity had spoken once. And no one would ever forget it.